coach plays an important role. If young people feel that they need some support, then they can include coach and coaching costs inside the project. Very often, coaching starts even before the application is granted and you have funds. So often a group of young people get in contact with some organization or an adult who they trust to help them to carry out the application process, project design, submitting it, and waiting for a positive answer. But officially coaching starts when the project starts. And here I would like to show a model for coaching process, which hopefully will help to understand better how it is experience done in various projects. The model itself comes from a coaching guide, which was designed and written for youth initiatives. It used to be such a format, very close to what the Solidarity projects right now, where young people are addressing a need in community and they take action themselves to do some change. So in this model, coaching starts from getting to know the group. So basically, it's about getting to know what group is interested in, what kind of needs they have, what kind of ideas they have, who are them as people. Also a coach. Young people get to know the coach himself or herself. Then a big part of coaching process is actually building relationships. So you need to kind of understand what are the expectations from both sides, coach and a group of young people. What are the boundaries, similar to mentoring, what we agree as a coach and young people to carry out together. What are the limitations in terms of coaching? For example, usually a coach would never take over the project because that's not the idea of the Solidarity project. So coach has to take care of boundaries as well. And for building relationships, there are a lot of different things you can do, starting from simple one, having some meals together, workshops together, activities together, spending structured time to know how a group of young people wants to function and what kind of support they need from a coach. Then it comes time to identify needs and competencies. There are several tools, methods, techniques, if you want, coach can use to help young people to express what they need and also what they're capable of. Because often young people bring their competences to the project. That's why a team is needed to run a Solidarity project. And a coach can help young people to discover themselves in terms of competences and also what needs are important. And based on this identification, often coach can apply different types of supporting. It can be coach himself or herself can apply this or can signpost young people to different opportunities. Sometimes, very often, young people need a clear information how, for example, Solidarity project is functioning in the formal way. For example, what kind of accountability they have for a national agency, what kind of papers they need to submit, to collect and so on. So maybe a clear information is missing and that could be delivered by a coach, or maybe coach assist young people in getting in contact with the national agency and supporting them in exchange of this information. Sometimes coach plays a suggesting role. So a coach is saying a couple of options for possible ways to go, especially when the group gets stuck. But actually decision to use one or another way, a solution will be on the side of young people. Sometimes it can be that young people need some training. For example, they need training on how to disseminate results of the project. Maybe they are not good with communication in sense of public relations, press release writing, or social media campaigning. Yeah, so maybe a coach cannot provide that, but knows an organization, local organization, which can offer such training to young people. Yeah, sometimes and often it's all about training personal and social skills, what young people need to apply when working as a team. So here, coach can run a couple of workshops together with young people on team communication, team collaboration, looking at past experiences together and drawing some conclusions. So that could be also a way to become aware of necessary skills for good teamwork. And sometimes coach is just facilitating the process, perhaps a meeting among young people, a meeting of young people and community, but again, with the goal that young people learn to do that themselves. So maybe first meetings, a coach is facilitating, but the next, it is an expectation that young people will continue doing facilitation themselves. And there might be other responses to identify needs and competences in this process. And this might change throughout the timeline of 2 to 12 months. So needs at beginning might be different from needs towards the mid project or end of the project. That's why constant evaluation and feedback and keeping contact are essential structure for coaching process. Yeah, and very important and often needed role that coach is playing is motivating young people to continue and keeping going, because 12 months might be a long period for young people to commit for such a project. So of course, some people might lose the motivation, individuals in a group or maybe entire group might say, due to overwhelming outside world demands, we might say, for now, we need to make a stop and come back to our project later on. So this model helps to explain how coaching can happen and also identify different stages of coaching and different interventions what coach can perform in supporting a group of young people. Very often, coaching concept comes from either sports field, where we know what coaches do, often shout from the line on their players, yeah, but the job is done by players, yeah, just a bit of exaggeration. But that's one of the contexts where coaching is practiced, yeah, with own ways and rules and approaches. Another coaching practices you can find, it's of course business coaching. Very often with quite self-determined individuals who kind of need some help to set goals, move forward, and so on. So often it's an individual coaching. From business context, it would be a lot. And when we come to youth work sector, we often mix coaching approaches with non-formal education approaches. Very often we need to talk about group dynamics inside, about individuals with diverse needs and abilities, where diversity, inclusion will play a role. And one other defining factor, I think, in my view, it's that coaching in youth work, in solidarity projects, if we take this example, is practiced with groups of young people. Yeah, very often it's interaction between individuals themselves, but also coach with a group or coach with few people or even individuals. So it's a more complex approach. And often people having coaching experiences in business, they would say, no, that's not the way we work. Yeah, in business, I say. In youth work, that's the way we do. Where you would not find in the program guide anywhere written what are the formal tasks of the coach, except a vague explanation of what a coach is. A coach is a resource person which helps, who can, yeah, it should be outside the youth group, so cannot be one of the group members. And the task is to support group in fostering learning through the project. So one of the, formally speaking, tasks written in a guide is that coach predominantly caring about what young people will learn throughout the project, yeah. But at the same time, the same way like Anna was explaining about mentoring, there will be certain expectations group will have towards you, and then you need to clarify that at the stage of building the relationship. So not to have too much expectations which would not fall under the coaching role. For example, it's a very blurry lines between you taking action together with young people in a local community activity. Yeah, of course you will not stand somewhere outside of the group if they will need help, I don't know, bringing benches and so on. But I think the biggest defining factor of your task and role is not to take decisions on behalf of the youth group. Decision making should be part of young people's task. Whatever happens in the project, it can be a crisis, it can be a best moment. You are not taking decisions on behalf of young people. Young people must learn to do that throughout the process. Yeah. And where in the coaching guide, the reference I was giving earlier, you will find many good examples, tips, and how to define tasks and activities, what coach can do to support young people. Yeah. And again, the same what Anna was saying, there will be the same one project, not the same youth group. So every time you will need to repeat the cycle, what I was showing earlier. Yeah. Every time with new group, new individuals, you will need to find agreements. Then Anna is asking, should the coach be a peer or an older adult? It's not defined formally, but one thing it's clearly said, it's outside of the group. So if there are 5 young people from 18 to 30, it couldn't be another young person from that group. It's due to these peer relations, where one thing is to give constructive feedback, which is often not easy if you never practice with your friends, to say, look, we're good friends, but our project is not moving forward. Yeah, what can we do about that? Yeah, it's not easy to raise these kind of questions when things are especially not getting well. When everything is going well, I think everyone is on good terms and good relations. But coach has this critical role to some extent. Yeah, not to demotivate young people, but actually bring them back their motivation and resilience towards some challenges, which will obviously be plenty when young people take solidarity projects due to sometimes very sensitive topics they want to address, groups in society which really lack support and have variety of needs. So I think solidarity projects in particular are very sensitive projects themselves. Yeah.